All right, guys, welcome back. I'm Gleesy.
And I'm Al.
And here Forever I Do, y'all, we will continue to teach you guys how to brag.
Build relationships
according to God. So as you can see, kind of a different setup. And what we want to do is be able to bring you guys into conversations that we like to have with each other and also
with other couples.
Yeah,
we always get asked.
We do. We really do. We've had a lot of people over the years that have joined Forever I Do, and I think it's time to reintroduce ourselves.
Yeah, kind of a reset.
Yeah, which is what everyone needs, what every couple needs at some point in their relationship. So today we're going to talk about how we met.
Which version?
We're going to talk about the real version, because
which version?
The real version. We're not doing the my version, your version, and then the truth in the middle. Okay. No, we're going to set it straight. Okay. We're going to talk about how you pursued me. Anyway. So
this is going to get interesting.
So we have been together for what, 23 years. And we've been married for 19 of those years.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because we actually met at work.
Yeah.
And I actually saw Al when he was interviewing. And it was just something about you that I was just like, man, I've never been intrigued like that. Now, mind you, I was young, but it was something about you that just, it kind of like opened my eyes in ways that it had never been opened before. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's going to be my husband one day. And you felt the same way, right?
So we said we were going to different versions, but I was like in a completely different place. I was locked in on goals and things like that. I had just gotten out of the military. I only actually started working because I was bored. I was going to school full time, using GI Bill and money I had saved up to pay for my expenses. So I really didn't need to work at that time, but I needed something else to do. So to make that story, long story short, my cousin actually told me, why don't you just come down, check it out, see if you want to come work down here. And I did.
Yeah. And there was a reason, because God knew that you needed to meet your future wife. Because if that didn't happen, our worlds would not have collided then. So it's so cool that something that didn't need to happen just happened.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for that. So we meet, we talk, we go back and forth,
I think we're missing a whole, we didn't meet and talk. We met, but I wasn't talking to her. I'll be real, I wasn't trying to give Gleesy no time. I really wasn't interested. I wasn't there to look for no future wife, girlfriend, anything else of the sort. I was there to work, and Gleesy was trying to talk to me, but I was very short. I was rude. I'll be honest. I was rude. I was not interested. So she would be trying to talk, and I would be real short, and I would just be. Gleesy was like a supervisor in the store, and I was a stock clerk. So I would just come in there, do what I had to do, and while she's trying to talk, I'm just still working, and then I'm out of there.
Yeah, but me being who I am,
yeah,
I talk to everybody, and I made you talk to me eventually, and I just was myself.
Yeah.
I was just myself, and so many times in relationships, people try to be something different in order to get the attention of the person that they're pursuing. And for me, it was just all I knew how to do was to be me. Like I said, I was young, but up until that point, that's what got me in so many different places, just being who I was. So I knew how I felt about you, and I knew what was in my heart. And I was just eventually you will come around and see who I am.
So Gleesy put the wheels in motion because she set me up, actually. No, well, my version is she kind of set things in motion, set me up, because one day we had to open the store, and it just happened to be I show up and Glici's there by herself, and so now we got to open up the store together. And then I finally opened up to having conversations because we were the only ones in the store. So we just got to talking, and then it went from there.
Got him. But that really changed everything.
Yeah.
That changed everything. The conversation started that day, and I think a couple days later we went out to lunch together. And here we are. I'm just forever grateful that our worlds collided in that way, because it really was orchestrated by God. Like, there's no way in the world we would have met any other kind of way.
Yeah.
Even if it was a month later or a month earlier, it wouldn't have happened. Just because of where we were in life, it wouldn't have happened. So I'm really grateful that we didn't get in our way.
So where were we in life? So why don't you just tell, where were you in life? Because I know I was in a different place.
I had just graduated from high school. So I was in between my summer from graduating high school and then going to college. And I was going away to college. So that's why I said, if it was a month earlier or a month before, it wouldn't have happened, because I would have been like, oh my gosh, she's too old for me, because I would have been in high school versus, I'm a high school graduate now. So that's where I was.
Yeah. And for me, like I mentioned, I was just coming out of the military. So I had already did the high school thing. I was of age where most people would have been graduating college. And again, so I was in a different place in terms of life and experiences. And just being straightforward, I was not looking for a wife, girlfriend, anything like that. But as we said, through the conversations, I knew that Glici was different. But in talking to other people, we kind of do our research, we spy out the land, all those things, and talking to other guys, I was like, where I am in life, if I was to get involved with her, I would ruin her life. I was like, nah, I'm not even bothering. In my eyes, Glici was the sweet, innocent girl, and I was not the sweet, nice
boy next door.
Yeah, that wasn't me. And so I was like, I will ruin her life. So therefore, I'm still going to keep my distance.
Yeah. And you tried, but it was hard. Once we started to get to know each other, it was hard, because it almost was like we were trying to do the same things in life. We had the same goals. We had the same, aspirations. So it was hard to walk away from somebody that wanted to do the same things that you wanted to do.
And for me, it was a bit different, because it was, I knew what I had been doing previously, and it wasn't necessarily good for me in terms of relationships. And I knew it wasn't my future.
Yeah.
I couldn't date and be involved with the kind of people I was getting involved with, if it was going to align with where I saw my future. And so I knew I needed something different, but I didn't necessarily know how to get there. And gratefully, there were requirements to dating Glici. And it was the first time I ever had requirements to date somebody. I still remember the first day I met her father. First of all, I had to go pick her up at a church event, and I was not in the church. And I meet her father, and he tries to break my hand. And he, when he's shaking my hand, he tries to break my hand. And then he just starts grilling me and giving me requirements to date his daughter. And I had never had anybody set requirements to date their daughter. First of all, I had never even met a father before, to be straight up and to be honest. And then secondly, again, I had never had a set of requirements up front to even take them out for the first time. And it was like, is this what I want? Maybe not. But is this what I need? I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very interesting. I couldn't wait for you to meet my father, because I didn't want to, jump head over heels, and then he tell me like you can't date him, because that would have crushed me. So
But then he did tell you that, like,
he didn't tell me I couldn't date you. He said that he thought that you were too experienced, like you had too much world um, experience to be dating me. Because, like I said, I had just graduated from high school, so I hadn't done anything. But what he did say is that if you went to church and if you were willing to be around like people that were important to us, so like my family, my extended family, then he would be open to us dating.
yeah,
And that was almost a way for not just him to check you out, but like those people that was important to us to check you out as well. And you didn't shy away from it. You didn't shy away from it. I think the following Sunday, like you were at church. That was a big deal. Um, and it just kept growing from there. Like your relationship with God grew, your relationship with my family grew, our relationship grew, but strangely enough, I went away to college.
yeah,
Yeah, and you were still at home doing those things that my father said that you had to do in order to date me. So, you were still going to church even though I wasn't there, which in turn meant that you were spending time with my family and like my church family and my extended family. So I was really grateful for that.
yeah. And just a quick sidebar, like, for those of you that are out there right now dating or in the dating pool, um, don't be afraid to actually have requirements
Mm,
um, for somebody to date you. Like, you have to set the standard up front. So again, that was something that was different for me, but it was absolutely something that was needed. And then secondly,
mm-hmm.
you have to date in community. Like, if your worlds don't mix and don't match, then you're wasting your time, because you don't want to already be living two separate lives and then think somehow you're going to ever be able to become one, because those worlds had to mesh at some point in order to
Exactly.
become one. So again, those were some things, like foundational things, that while we may not have known exactly what we were doing, those were keys to building a successful relationship from the beginning. Dating in community, having standards up front, and making sure the person was willing to meet those standards.
Yeah, I I do think that's really important, and that's something that we talk about with our couples in our premarital counseling sessions. The importance of bringing your two
Yeah, those
worlds
words
together,
together.
because it has to happen. My friend group and your friend group, they're going to become a big friend group. Now, maybe not everybody will interact, in the same way, but if my friends hate you and your friends hate, me, like that's a big struggle as you're trying to bring your two separate
Yeah,
lives together into one. So it's definitely something that you want to be mindful of as you are dating. That's why when you said like don't date in isolation, it's important. And also your friend group can see things that you can't see. So like my dad and my family could see things that I couldn't see, because when I saw you, I just saw this. But they could see the other things and, make me aware of different situations. And I love that not only did they make me aware, I mean, they share those same hesitations with you.
yeah, yeah,
It gives you the opportunity to kind of recognize what other people see and decide, is this something that I need to
yeah,
work on, or are they just misreading it?
yeah.
And I think that's so important, as you're dating and growing, especially with another person. It is not easy to share your life with another person.
Yeah.
I talk to people all the time, like when women talk to me about dating and being a wife and like those first few years, that's the biggest thing that I say. Like, I literally went from living with my family to living with you,
Yeah.
so it was like a big difference, in trying to navigate that season. But it's just so important that you talk about things. The more and more we're in relationship, not just like our relationship, but like in relationship with other people's, like communication is so key.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing I've ever done.
And that was again like a key thing to our relationship, because you had to go away to college, so the distance meant that we had to actually get to know each other without just the physical of being in each other's presence all the time, and tempting each other. Like we only talked over the phone,
Yeah.
and something that's ancient history now, like um, those
Instant,
little chat messages,
instant message.
instant messages days, and stuff like that. But that's how we actually got to learn each other and know about each other, was just through sheer conversations. Um, and we got to see what were we willing to sacrifice,
Mm.
um, because we knew we can only have those conversations. And when we saw each other, we had to be very intentional with the time that we had together, because you were going back to your life away. And even for me, like I remember, like I didn't even have a car in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So again, something, I guess it's still around, but I don't know how many people still use it. But I remember catching the Greyhound
Yeah.
to go see you and just spending hours on, like Greyhounds were like, I would compare it to today's Spirit Airlines or whatever. Like
It
it
wasn't
was
that
the
bad.
the cheapest way to travel. You could easily get a ticket, but you had to be prepared for what you were going to see on
Yeah.
that bus at those bus stations. But again, it was, am I willing to make the sacrifice
Mm-hmm.
to see you when I could see you, and then when I did get a car, driving all the way up into the mountains, really truly into the mountains to see you. And I remember even getting trapped like in snowstorms and craziness. But again, like what was a sacrifice that was willing to be made um, to pursue what I said I wanted? And again, the key is like, is he willing to pursue you um, beyond just getting physically what he wants, but getting what he wants because he know he needs it in his life? Like, is he willing to pursue?
Yeah, that's so good. And I think those are questions that you can get the answer to those very early on. Like if us seeing each other was too big of an inconvenience for you, then that lets me know where I stand. This relationship isn't that important, or you don't recognize this relationship as being worth that sacrifice. So I think that was something else that stood out to me, especially having my dad be the only male idea of what a man was. And I saw how much my dad sacrificed for us. To see you be willing to do those same sacrifices, like to me, it was just like, okay, so he has those qualities. He's willing to sacrifice. He's willing to put me first, or he's willing to put what he wants, on the back burner to make sure that what we wanted to do, or what I needed to do, you were willing to do. So,
And those sacrifices, I wouldn't say they look like your father's, because that's completely different. And again, he was in a marriage, but again, just making sure that the person that is pursuing you is willing to make a
a sacrifice,
sacrifice,
yeah.
and sometimes not without being asked. Are they willing to sacrifice certain things in their life? Now they shouldn't be sacrificing like their because we were still pursuing
Right.
our own individual things. You
Right.
were pursuing your college degree and your career goals, and so what? So was I. So you shouldn't sacrifice your actual goals that you had before you met the person, but you should be able to again fit them into your life and make certain sacrifices in order to fit them in your life.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say during that dating phase. Like, what kind of sacrifices are they willing to make in pursuit of a future together?
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good.
So, how did the dating story end? Like, we talked about the pursuit, we talked about how we met. Um, how do we actually get to the place where we said, this is what we want in our future?
I think when I came back home from college, and I was staying here in the city, um, I think that's when we really started to try to, or I think we really were more intentional about deciding the next step, which would have been marriage. Um, and I know you got pressure from my dad to, this is, what are you doing? Are you
She
playing?
said her dad, like it wasn't just her dad, like it was dads, it was aunts, it was uncles, like her community. And I'm not gonna say pressure. They wanted to know what the intention was, and that I wasn't wasting her time.
Yeah. So like I know that was there. Well, I never really got that. The things that were said to me was, are you ready to be a wife? Like that was the stuff that would be asked to me. Are you ready to have to come home and cook? Are you ready to have to clean? And are you ready to do laundry? And all those different things. And that was really interesting because once again, I was living at home. So, I didn't have to cook. I didn't have to clean. I didn't do laundry. So, I started trying to do those things to see if there was something that I truly wanted. And I didn't. I didn't want to have to cook and clean and do laundry, but I was willing to do it. I was willing to learn. That was the biggest thing. I was willing to learn to do those things. So that let me know that this is truly what I wanted.
And I think that again, that's another key. Like, are we willing to ask ourselves those questions and to be honest with ourselves?
Yeah.
Do you really want this? And have you actually taken time to kind of list out what that want will actually entail? What will it involve?
Yeah.
Because I had to do the same thing on my end, where I got guys in my ears like, you just want one woman for the rest of your life, and are you sure like you should have more than one? And fellas, like some of y'all may have come up the same way I did, where it was kind of like a rite of passage as a man to have more than one girl, like to have a main and a side and a side to the side and all those things. And so like I'm getting all of these different things in my head.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to answer the question of, is that what I want?
Yeah.
And if I can't commit to one person, then I need to move on. Like I can't waste her time and say, well, I'm going to just keep dating her, and if I find something else, then I'll move on or whatever. It had to be a serious conversation with myself, and a commitment to God. Like, is this what you want from me? And am I willing and ready to take that next step and say, I'm going to just commit myself to one person? Because again, I mentioned I had just got out the military. Anybody that has served know, like, especially in the Marine Corps, where it was population probably seemingly 90% guys, 10% women, and you hardly saw the women. So I had just spent a little over 4 years around a bunch of guys all the time. So it was like coming back home, it was temptation everywhere. Like, and it was really difficult for me to make that transition to say, okay, I just spent years pretty much kind of in isolation and hardly ever seeing a woman, to seeing all these women, and now I needed to determine, am I ready to just be with one?
Yeah.
And once I answered those questions, I knew, okay, now I can make this next step.
Yeah.
And that's where our forever actually began.
Yeah. That's so good. And that was fun. That whole season of planning our wedding and bringing our lives together, like moving out from my parents, moving in with you, like that was very fun and exciting for me because I had never done anything like that before. And it was also scary for me too. I remember the first time he was just like, what's for dinner? And I was just like, I have no idea, So like just that whole season of growth was fun. It was fun. Our next segment that we'll switch to is what almost broke us. What almost broke us. So guys, make sure that you tune in next time, and we can kind of delve into what almost broke us. And not only what almost broke us, but what also healed us. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. I hope it was impactful for you. Even going back and talking about our beginning it makes a big difference. And if you're a married couple, like, I think it's important to talk about where you started and why you started, because sometimes you forget in the whole busyness of life. And I think that is completely normal. And we have to recognize that. Okay. So maybe tonight, you guys are chilling in the evening. Talk about your beginning. Talk about who pursued who. Talk about those early moments when everything was so new and exciting, because that stuff matters.
And it may be just a good refresher to remind you that you once pursued this.
Yeah.
So what are you doing to pursue it now?